We'll call the meeting to order for the January 8th, 2019 board meeting. We've had our administration of office. At this time, we will have election of officers for 2019 Board of Commissioners, the election of a chair, and the election of a vice chair. As outgoing chair, I will open it up to nominations for chair for 2019.
I nominate Denny Kemp for chair.
We have a motion for Commissioner Kemp. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Move nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion for vice chair.
I'll nominate Commissioner Lipke because that's how it kind of goes in our procession.
We have a nomination. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Close nominations. All those in favor of Commissioner Lipke serving as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Congratulations. Our first duty is the flag pledge, and our newest commissioner will lead us in that pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next agenda item, do we have any new employees? Cassie, I think we have. Oh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have Mackenzie Zuri, who is the new Children's Mental Health Case Manager.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm from Good Thunder, Minnesota. I went my undergrad at Gustavus Adolphus here in St. Peter, and then I got my master's in social work at MSU Mankato. I did my internship here at Nicollet County in adult mental health in 2016, and I really like it here so far, so thank you.
Well, thank you and welcome.
Thanks.
She lives in
Good luck.
Vernon Center now?
Yep.
So I'm sure she'll be an excellent employee. We've had good run of employees from there, so.
Nice to meet
Thank
you
you.
all.
Yes, Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynette, do we have any amendments to the consent agenda and/or, just to make this a sweeping, is there anything, since it is such a lengthy consent agenda, is there anything we would like to pull off for discussion? Let's start with Lynette. Did you have an addition?
We do have one addition to the consent agenda, and that is a budget change request form from the Sheriff's Office.
Okay. And that's already been provided to the board in their blue packet. And Mr. Morrow.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove item 4, the 2019 library contracts.
Okay, and if it pleases the board, we will add that at the end of the consent agenda, or is the next item of business after the consent agenda.
Sure.
With those amendments, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Lipke moves.
Second.
Morrow seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Perhaps we should approve the agenda?
I thought we did. I skipped it. Okay.
Did we approve the agenda? That motion is just to Approve the
The
consent agenda. Yeah.
Okay, I was ahead of myself.
Mhm.
So, shall we go back and fix that?
I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that was the approval of the agenda. Now, we have item 4, which was removed from the consent agenda to discuss, and that was the library contracts. Mr. Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick observation on all 3 of the contracts. The language on non-discrimination, which at least in the first contract, I believe is Article 16 or Section 16 of the contract, the non-discrimination language, it doesn't mirror the Minnesota Human Rights Act, Article 363A. And I noted it in the juvenile justice screening contract we're going to see later today. That Article 16 also has, that has the correct language.
Correct language.
The bookmobile contracts, I think, need to be updated to reflect 363A. And that's the observation I share about all three contracts.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that, and I'll have county attorney review those contracts. Those are contracts we've reused for years, and I'm not sure if our current county attorney's ever reviewed those contracts or not. We try to make sure she at least sees every contract that goes forward, but we'll have her look at those.
Thank you.
That is not one that I have been asked to review, so I will look at that.
Thank you.
Procedurally, would we like to accept it with the anticipated amendments, or do we want to hold this until we've reviewed it?
I think we could do the motion with the contingent upon review by the county attorney's office.
Satisfied?
I'm fine with that. If you want to do it that way, you can move, I can move to amend it to say,
Sure.
to reflect 363A.
Sure.
That will be your motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
So we have a second. Making sure that's clear, it is with the amendments to be compliant with statute. All those in favor signify by
Just,
saying aye.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, just some discussion.
Please.
When will these monies be released?
So after today, we'll send the contracts to the cities, and they'll take action on them, and then they request the funding. Do they both request it semi-annually or quarterly?
It's quarterly, I believe.
I think it's quarterly. Yeah, it's quarterly for both, though. And that does include the extra $10,000 above our minimum maintenance of effort.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Public appearances. Do we have any public appearances? I see none. We'll ask one more time. Are there any those that would seek to make a public appearance before the board? None being forthcoming, we'll move to the Human Services line item, agenda item. Cassie, I think. We would ask you to speak to this.
Yes. So this morning I'm bringing forward the Counseling Services Purchase of Service Agreement for 2019. This contract is, again, in replacement of our contract we previously held with the Sioux Trails Mental Health Center. In update to the contract, many of the services being provided remain the same. We have asked Counseling Services to begin providing the clinical supervision for the Children's Mental Health Unit. That started last month, as that was written in as something that could possibly happen in the last contract, and has been a really valuable experience for our staff members so far. The other significant change to this would be in terms of the budget. Last year when we set this contract, we weren't yet sure of the number of services we would be utilizing from Counseling Services. So he had set the budget at a minimum of $70,000 to be paid and a maximum of $120,000 to be paid. It looks like for the year of 2018, we spent $12,500 to Counseling Services. Being very ethical and focused on making this contract work, they were not willing to accept the $70,000 minimum that had been written into our contract and billed us for the $12,500. We're anticipating next year spending between $30,000 and $35,000 at Counseling Services, with the addition of the clinical supervision piece. We're hoping that that also assists in generating more referrals and more connections to service. So at this point, this contract does not have that minimum and maximum language. We'd like to be sure that we are paying for the services that we receive, nothing more and nothing less. I would also add that during this year, because of our contract, Counseling Services did add a zero-fee sliding scale for clients who were unable to make the copay and couldn't participate. And so that was because of our contract with them, that they could offer that to Nicollet County clients. They also have a navigator on staff, so they have been able to help our clients who have come to their door without insurance. They have been able to approve just a certain number of sessions, and then they revisit it and continually try to get the person insurance so that they don't need to rely on this type of funding for mental health services. So we've been very impressed, and we would ask that the board approve the contract for 2019.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval.
Have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I do have
Second.
some questions, if
Please.
you don't mind. Three of us, Commissioner Duranto, Commissioner Kemp, and I have all served on the previous board with the previous provider when we were paying in the neighborhood of
$265,000.
Yeah, a lot of money. And this new relationship with this new service, in your mind, is satisfactory to what we need to be doing going forward?
Absolutely. We meet quarterly to talk about needs in our community and our county. They've begun attending meetings that we have internally and that we previously didn't have their attendance. And the other half of that contract is with the Blue Earth County Mental Health Center. Their contract is still under revision at this point, but so the other half of services belong there, and we are also feeling very positive about that relationship as well.
And if I could, Mr. Chair, you had mentioned in your report that people are getting services. Sometimes in the past, in the previous relationship, it was unclear whether people in our county were getting those services. How can you document what type of numbers we're seeing now or will see in the future?
So when we have our quarterly meetings, both providers do give us a handout that I haven't actually wanted to keep in our files because there are clients being served at those agencies, but they do have them available to us to show us the number of people, which category they fall under, severe and persistent mental illness or severe mental illness, the types of services provided, the hours provided, and our bills that we receive from Counseling Services indicate the number of hours and for what service.
If I could, just,
Please.
the other place that we were doing business with had offices in New Ulm and St. Peter. The offices for this service are in,
Counseling Services has Mankato, St. Peter, and LeSueur.
so we'll be able to reach people who live in the western part of the county, for example.
Yes. Another thing that we're working on right now is we recently set up ITV in the Health and Human Services building, so we can now have clients come to us and we can help them connect to the Blue Earth County Mental Health Center so that they can have psychiatric access much more quickly as well. So, and those two agencies also can connect with ITV. So we've kind of got a relationship between the three agencies that is serving our clients very well.
Mr. Chair, it would be great to get updates, from Cassie in the future on how this is working and how this contract will help our residents of Nicollet County, if that could be arranged.
Yes, I believe I plan to have regular updates in the board workshops.
That'd be great.
Yes.
I have one question, Cassie. How are we accommodating, or have we had any failure to provide service on our clients in the west end of the county? Or do we have any anecdotal things that
Yes.
have been a problem?
Right now, I can only think of one example in the last year where we did have a struggle, and we were able to have the person go into the Brown County Human Services Agency and use ITV. We've also implemented that community-based coordinator position, and the flexibility of that position has allowed her to drive all over the county, pick people up, bring them to appointments, set things up that didn't exist before.
So we're also not having that absenteeism that we were experiencing with our prior provider.
Correct. I believe that's improving, yes.
Great. Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, you asked my questions. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, call the question.
Fullers,
Yes.
Lippy?
Yes.
Morrow?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
And I think our administrator's up. We have some administrative issues, and that looks to be the long line of committee appointments.
Right, Mr. Chair, every year, as the board knows, we have a list of committees that need assignments and approval for that. I will note in the handouts in your packet, there is a resolution that we started adopting a couple of years ago that goes over the statutory authority for committees and per diems and what's eligible for per diem and what's not. So I encourage board members to read that resolution. In the past, we've went through, the chair has led the discussion committee by committee to discuss if there's any changes, and if there's any questions, I can certainly try to help answer those. So Mr. Chair, if you wanna start it
Away
off.
we go. All right, AMC delegation, that's a all board member function historically with our executive staff, and Seth is part of that also. And I see no reason to change that.
Right, we get 8 voting members, and so Jamie, myself, and Seth always usually attend the annual conference, so it makes sense to have the 8 of us.
AMC policy committees, I will speak to, I did have a discussion with Commissioner Morrow, and he has expressed interest in serving on the AMC policy committee in the Health and Human Services Department. So if all would be if it would be satisfactory to the balance of the board, I would take over the Public Safety Committee representation, and Commissioner Morrow would take over Health and Human Services. If everyone's amenable to that. Hearing no dissension, I guess we will proceed. District committees is simply followed by board chair and vice chair, so we continue on in that. Board of Adjustments and Appeals, we have an appointment there.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, David Wendiger has agreed to serve another term if so appointed by the board, so he would be up for reappointment. A 3-year term.
I'd be in favor of that, Mr. Chair.
Do we want to deal with that right now?
It can
For
be
the
all
appointments,
one.
or should we do it all in one fell swoop?
Yeah, it can be one motion.
Very well. Board of Appeals and Equalization, again, I believe that's all the all of the board serving and Jackie or a designee. Again, for the Community Health Board, that's all members. Budget Committee is usually a progression based on the chair and vice chair. Isn't that usually our progression?
We actually do the whole board on a 2-year rotation for
Okay.
each member. So Commissioner Kemp will be on his 2nd year this year, and following the past rotation, Commissioner Lipke would be on his 1st year.
Okay. Building Committee,
This committee rarely meets unless we have a significant building project. Commissioner Stenson was on that.
and Commissioner Morrow has indicated his willingness to serve.
Get him a
Can't-
hard hat.
Yeah, have to get it back from Jim though. Canvassing Board, are you willing to serve there also?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Morrow? Or is there anybody else who would rather serve on the Canvassing Board? None, Commissioner Morrow. Let's see, County Board, well, we resolved that. Training and Education, that's everybody. Board Workshops, that's everybody.
Mr. Chair, on the County Board Training and Education, I added this as a new item. It hasn't been listed, but we have several trainings, leadership speakers, programs, drainage trainings that the board can attend, and we've never officially listed it as a committee eligible for per diem. So that's certainly up to the board and your discretion on how you'd want to handle that, but I did list it here as a eligible per diem meeting for commissioners.
Is that acceptable to the board?
Yes.
Hearing no dissension. County Board Workshops. Committee on Aging. Marie, are you choosing to serve, continue there, or?
Yeah, doesn't meet,
I assumed that, but so,
or hasn't met, or I haven't been told about
Commissioner
it,
Moore, are
so.
you willing to be the alternative, or alternate to the non-meeting meeting?
Mr. Chair, if I might, I'm happy to serve in all the positions that former Commissioner Stenson served, unless there's another board member who would like to step in.
Okay. That expedites our travels. Our next discussion item was the Criminal Justice Committee. We had, I think, discussed last year the issue of do we want to dissolve this, because in many cases we're meeting in other functions within other committees, and I think there was a concern, are we being redundant? If I'm misstating that, that's my recollection of it, but.
And I'll add, Mr. Chair, I think when this was originally set up, the county board only met 3 or 4 times a year for workshops, and we meet 11 times a year now, so my thought is this could largely be handled as the topics appropriate in workshop, but it is the official committee right now.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would speak to retaining some form of it. I think it's been very, very helpful for board members to see all of the players in the justice area of our county, and it's been helpful for me personally, just as a way to learn more about, you know, how our county attorney views this, our judges view that topic. I know that it was the brainchild of Commissioner Stenson over the years that we do it, and I found it, for me at least, I found it to be helpful, informative, educational. So
I found it equally informative, but there were some times that it wasn't informative, so we need to choose our topics carefully.
Question, Mr. Chair, did we meet once a year on this, or what was it?
Well, I think
Twice.
we, maybe once or twice.
Twice,
yeah,
Twice a
was
year.
our general.
Well, if we do keep it, there's some updating has to be done on this list.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And, Mr. Chair, if the board chooses to retain that committee, I would respectfully request that perhaps to help guide that discussion, if I could be named co-chair to that committee, if that is something the board is open to consideration, then perhaps I could bring the topics to that meeting.
and I think that, if you don't mind me saying, Mr. Chair, I think that Jamie was working under the direction of former Commissioner Stenson to pick topics as we went along, and mostly it was at the whim of what Commissioner Stenson thought would be important. Not that they weren't important, but maybe it would be better if someone in the field, county attorney type person, would set that course and that agenda. I'm just thinking in that direction, if she's so willing.
Well, then I think I hear a consensus that we would retain the committee and simply amend how we direct that committee.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a suggestion that Michelle and Terry be co-chairs, since he has experience in that field.
Is that acceptable to everyone? We have a consensus there? Okay. Per diem, the Drainage Authority, everybody knows who they are. It's just the issue of when a per diem is assigned is if we don't meet in conjunction with a regular board meeting, correct?
Yeah, and I did list informational meetings here, because we've had several of those, and I honestly don't recall what commissioners have been doing, if they've been claiming a per diem for that or not, but I did list it here as a per diem eligible.
Because they don't always meet in conjunction with a regular board.
It's typically not on a board day.
We still have a few ditches to go through yet.
Right.
Joint Drainage Board, and Terry indicated he'd be willing to serve on all of those. Drug Court? Okay. Any changes in joint powers? Yeah, EMS preparedness group, or emergency preparedness group, and Envision 20. Oh, we're 2040 now. We used to be
Right.
2020. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Ma'am,
could I just inquire with respect to the Criminal Justice Committee will work to update the appropriate individuals on that committee
Yes.
for the community members? Okay, thank you.
I see we have several new faces out in the field too. Extension, Marie and Jack?
Well, Mr. Chair, the chair typically serves on the extension committee, so I would be going off in 2019. Marie, I think, would you stay on, or would you have an interest to continue?
It does conflict with another meeting on a fairly regular basis, and I'm dashing back from Nicollet Dave is not in the audience. I'm speeding back from Nicollet to make the other meeting.
I think you're still on tape though.
Maybe
Oh.
Commissioner Lippy would have an interest.
And that was gonna be my question, is where does that meet?
In Nicollet, at the Catholic Church in Nicollet.
Okay.
And occasionally they forget to give us the key and you meet under the pavilion in the
And
park.
that's bi-monthly or
Quarterly.
quarterly?
It's in the
I'd
evening.
be interested in that.
Yeah, it's a 5 o'clock.
And then.
And I don't have the problem anymore.
Okay,
But anyway, Mr. Chair, the chair of this board is always, so next.
okay, well, so then I would ask that we amend that to indicate just the chair, so we don't have to,
Right, and
Right.
another,
and another appointee,
right,
right?
so that would follow in the future.
So, okay, chair.
Right. And then where we would have a conflict of the same person representing both, then we would add another name, right? So,
Yeah.
And
is
just,
that acceptable, John?
Yes.
just another change here, the youth rep right now is currently vacant, so they will be.
But they appoint that through their own group, right? Okay. Health insurance, any changes we need there? And portability?
No.
Madam County Attorney I see here's a rep from your office there.
No, that's fine.
Highway 14 Partnership, I'm assuming Jack and John want to stay there.
I do.
Be happy to.
Okay. And the Task Force Committee, which, just as a housekeeping issue, Seth, didn't that go away?
Which one?
The Task Force Committee, or is that still in play?
No, we'll still want to keep that in play.
Okay.
The task force may be called on at a later date. to
For
talk
the
about
next
design
changes,
principles.
okay.
It's possible.
And Marie, you want to wish to continue there? Okay. 169 Coalition, I'm fine with that, as long as you are, Marie. Historical Preservation Committee, no changes there. M-Track, you're gonna stay there, Jack, or is that another rotating? That stays,
It's
doesn't it?
been forever and I enjoy it.
Okay. Insurance Committee, Commissioner Morrow. Intergovernmental Cooperation with the county, City of St. Peter, and the school district, Commissioner Morrow. Goodness, we have lots of committees. Intergovernmental Youth Access Collaborative, happy to serve there. I don't think we've ever met, have we?
No, and Commissioner Campbell from Blue Earth County was kind of the organizer of that, I don't know
Okay,
if
well,
that's.
that may even have less frequent meetings then.
Right.
You follow Dave Hack on that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Ditch and Water Buffer Committee, I think Marie and John.
Yes.
You're good with that,
I
yeah?
think that might be able to go away also.
Well, I would say maybe not this year yet.
That was, I think, set up basically to discuss,
Buffers.
well, I think other issues as they arise internally with staff
Okay.
as well. Let's keep it on maybe for a
Okay.
year or two.
Okay. And our airport zoning,
Which we're required to
have representatives, and both are still able to represent. Legislative Committee, and you just improved the language there about
Yeah, there's
any of
never,
those meetings,
there
right?
never has been really a definition for that, so I put some language here, to include any, state or federal legislative type, meeting that a commissioner attends, that would have an impact on the county, they could claim a per diem for that. So that again, of course, is up to the board on how you want to define that, but I did give it a definition here.
Local Mental Health Advisory Board, I think in some respects, since you're representing Human Services, that may be a good
Great.
venue for you to join and see both sides of that, if that's
Terrific.
acceptable to you too. Okay?
Would you be suggesting that both you, Mr. Chair, and Terry be there, or just one?
I think one is usually, it's not a frequently attended, but I will always happily serve if someone can't be at a meeting. I don't think we need to appoint an alternative, but, just so that you have that in track. Local Water Management Task Force, is everybody that's listed still able to serve?
All the citizen members are.
And
then-
the ex officios would be, John is the primary and, Maria is the alternate. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yeah.
Planning Organization, we have Seth, Mandy, and the Policy Committee. Jack, you're willing to continue to serve there?
Yes.
Mankato Rehab Center, MRCI, I will happily serve there again. The Intergovernmental Trust, our primary delegate is Heather, with an alternative of Terry. Okay, Jack, Minnesota Valley Action Council,
Yes.
continue.
Yes.
Transportation Alliance, that's all players plus Seth. NACO, memberships there, National Association of Counties. Law Library, Marie, yes. St. Peter Liaison, Terry would fill that slot. North Mankato, Jack and I, and John is the alternate. Nicollet County Tri-Cities Liaison, Terry?
Great.
John, do you still feel strong about noxious weeds?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Take care of those thistle out there.
There you go. Park Board, John and I again?
Have we ever met?
Nope.
No.
But I think there will come a time when we will. We've had some discussions on some of those issues that we've had at work session. Again, I think to acknowledge the fact that a lot of things that are parts of these decision-making and discussions have come up in the work sessions that we didn't have as frequently when some of these committees were designed, so.
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask you about the park board.
Mhm.
There lists 2 vacant positions. Are they citizen positions?
Yes, I believe that is the case.
Both citizen.
I did see a nod that had, yes.
We've kind of had this ordinance on hold here for a while, both revising it, and then the board is off and on discussed what we wanna do with our parks, and then we got to the comprehensive plan, and we thought we'd let that drive the future of that, so I'm anticipating after the comprehensive plan, we'll follow through with the park ordinance update and probably revise this group at that time.
Great, thank you.
Personnel Committee, is that a rotating or is that we serve?
It's not rotational, it's whoever wants to serve.
You comfortable with
Yeah.
that yet? John
Yes.
is the alt, okay. Planning and Zoning Advisory, you said David has
He agreed to
serve,
serve this.
and so then this would be Commissioner Alt would be Commissioner Morrow. Region 9 Development, Marie, you're still happy to serve there. And Economic Development Alliance, Brian and Jack, still good with that? Okay. Clean liver, yeah, Water Partnership.
Clean water leads to a clean liver.
We hope so. Maybe it's what we add to the water, okay. Marie and John, still good there?
Yep.
And Safety Coordinator Jamie, that's good. Family Services Collaborative. I guess I'm still serving there. SBRTC? Or do you wanna swap those? Oh, that's in your district too, isn't it? Yeah, so. Okay, SHIP Committee, fine with that. John, you okay with
Yeah.
that, or do you wanna lead it?
No.
Safety coordinator is actually Jessica Morrison now.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, so we will amend that. Water, John.
Yes.
South Central HRA, and I don't think David's term is up. He's our citizen appointee. I will continue to serve if that's amenable to the group. South Central Emergency Communications Board, and Jack, you're willing to serve alt again?
Sure, thank you.
Transit Board, Marie and John, still good there? Okay. Workforce, Denny and Jack again, okay. And Board Chair apparently serves with Justin on the Homeland Security Emergency Management Joint Services, or Joint Powers Agreement. Tourism Association, Jessica will still be representing us there. Is that? Okay. Traverse to Sioux, Jack primary, and I'm your alternate. Solid Waste, how do you feel about solid waste, Terry?
Wonderful.
All right. And True Transit Advisory Committee, Marie, still good there?
Hope
Jack
so.
or John?
I went yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. I think we would entertain a motion to approve the resolution based on the discussion and changes already aforementioned mentioned.
I so move.
I have a question from,
I thought the Planning and Zoning Advisory Committee, there was a change there for Mike McCarthy's position, or am I misremembering that?
I didn't hear you, Michelle.
For some reason, I was thinking there was a new appointee.
There is. We need to appoint someone to fill Mike McCarty's spot.
So it should be listed as vacant then?
Yeah.
Oh, is he off now?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I didn't see that either.
Planning and zoning.
Joan needs to be replaced
So we'll just
by
list that
Cassie.
as vacant.
Vacant, and I believe Mandy, who is not, I can't see that far, has someone lined up.
Okay, so we'll do an appointment later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did have a motion, I don't have a second.
Second.
Terry, second.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Our housekeeping is resolved. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I think we've reached our informational items. Chair's report. Well, it's really brief. I'm here now. Already gone into the next cycle of serving. We had MRCI yesterday, and I look forward to seeing my fellow members at the training session tomorrow, or one or the other session. Isn't that tomorrow? Lynette? Yes. With Ms. Sweeney, who, if you have not seen her, you will enjoy immensely, and we will, I'm optimistic to hear the feedback from our staff on that one.
Send me an email on that.
Individual reports, we'll start with Commissioner Kolars.
December 20th, TDS, Traverse to Sioux and Mankato. December 28th, the CHS with the balance of the board in New Ulm. And we had our area transportation meeting on January 4th. I'm planning on attending the Governor Waltz inauguration ball in Mankato this Friday night at the Cato Ballroom.
Be careful of the baked goods you eat there. Oh, you're not that old, sorry. Lynette is on hire by Commissioner Walls to provide some baked goods, so I thought it was Friday night, so. Oh, okay.
Saturday?
So avoid that one.
I would have anything that you would cook or bake. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Drano.
I attended the Brown Nicollet Community Health Board meeting in New Ulm on the 28th. Thank you to you for bringing me back to St. Peter, and
My pleasure.
Jesse for taking me to New Ulm. Yesterday I attended the True Transit meeting, TAC meeting at Vine. The statistics for our ridership is out. Carol will be emailing them to you eventually, and I've lost my notes already. 350 rides in Nicollet County in 2018.
I believe we are the low of the 3 counties.
Yeah. We're getting people though that are going into New Ulm and out of New Ulm, and people that, well, that's Lee Sueur County that goes in and out of New Prague, but you gotta start somewhere, I guess.
It's catching on slower.
It's catching on slowly. More things to come in the future. Buses are up, software's ordered, still not working. It's building a
A
system.
new system.
Yeah.
And we have that odd anomaly with the corridor from St. Peter, Le Sueur, which is a little different too. It potentially changes our numbers a bit too.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly.
Very
So-
well. Commissioner Lipke.
I attended the Vicki Hagan retirement right here. I attended the Lower and Middle Minnesota Watershed meeting that was here. And they invited us to come to that at Rush River. Only one other commissioner there, Mr. Erickson from Renville County. Went to the Drew Campbell retirement, went to Dennis Potter retirement in New Ulm. Went to Brown Nicollet meeting with the rest of you where they had a very nice retirement breakfast for departing Commissioner Stenson and Commissioner Potter, who were not in attendance.
More
And
food for us.
We ate really well.
And went to the Doug Krieger retirement here just the other day.
I think your list is probably limited.
It's a limited list, but I would like to thank Brian and all staff for the opportunity to meet across departments about a week or two ago.
Great. And my remembrances of our retirement parties, we had a long list of them that we all ran into each other at. The New Ulm Public Health, and that's all the additions I have. And meetings and conferences, we have anything upcoming that we need to act on?
Mr. Chair, is everybody notified, Lynette, if you're planning to attend the legislative conference?
I think today was our deadline, so.
You have me down?
I don't know who I actually have down.
I think I emailed you.
Yeah, I know you emailed me, I don't know the names. I knew that Denny is gone and Marie's not able to.
I'm planning on going.
12, 13,
Terry,
14.
were you
Yeah.
able to go to?
The 12th we have a
Yes.
meeting, right?
Yes, so,
12th we have a meeting.
so it's just Terry, John, and Jack.
Yes.
Okay.
We're trying not to hold rooms as long,
Right.
just as a courtesy for
Sure.
other counties, so.
Entertain a motion to approve per diems and expenses.
I'll move that.
Commissioner Lipke.
You need a second?
I do.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We will return again at, can we move up our time because we don't have any public hearing?
Right, we can move up because we don't have anything that would be for the public.
That would
to
be a
attend.
public hearing issue, right? So shall we reconvene the ditch authority meeting at 10 o'clock? That would be acceptable?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the Nicollet County Drainage Authority meeting to order. We didn't approve an agenda here, that's not on the list, so I will move to the Drainage Authority agenda items. The consent agenda is before you. You have the material in your packet. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. Now, I have to get my verbiage correct. This portion of the meeting will be closed under Minnesota Statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B. 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 13D.05 sub This is to allow for discussion of the appeal of an order for improvement involving Nicollet County Ditch 86A in closed session. I've made that a motion to close the meeting. I would entertain a second.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I will be abstaining from this vote.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Hearing no opposition, the meeting
Is, I believe, going to be recusing himself from all of this conversation because he is a petitioner for the original petition filed on County Ditch 86A.
The minutes then should reflect that. Anything else?
Do you know what time I should come back?
I don't.
They will come and get me, so I'll be here.
Sure.
I'd like to reopen the meeting and entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.